Welcome back to another episode of the Successful Driver Podcast. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us today. We are so excited to be talking to Charles Bowles, the Director of Strategic Initiatives for Commercial Truck Trader. Charles, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us today.
Kent, that was way too nice an introduction, but I appreciate it.
You know, hey, look, I've been working with commercial truck traders since I got into the trucking industry. I love you guys. I've loved working with you over the last 8+ years. So, you guys have been a joy to work with, and it's exciting to get to talk to you a little bit today.
Well, thank you. And you've been through then a lot of our transition over the past 20 years. We have seen so many iterations of how to go to market and serve buyers. It's just been crazy. And not just us, everybody, truck paper, trucker to trucker, everybody. We've all seen these enormous transitions. So it's really a neat time.
Oh yeah, a lot has changed even in the 8 years I've been in here. And we'll talk a little about some of those changes, I'm sure, in a little bit. But, before we get started, we like to ask a few basic questions. And first off, just, your experience in the trucking industry, how you got started and in how long you've been in.
Oh, I'm really old. So I started in newspapers a long time ago at the beginning of the 80s. And a lot of my clients were truck dealers, and learned it that way as well. Worked a long time in newspapers, then transitioned to internet. Again, working with a lot of different types of dealers, and then transitioned 17 years ago to working what is now Trader Interactive. And there, I've been working in trucking forever. And I tell everybody this, I would not have hired me for this job back then, because it takes so long to learn the nuances of this business. Yeah. And, it's just incredible. And I appreciate how difficult it is even to buy a truck nowadays, because there's so much information you have to understand.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's pretty remarkable what these guys are, able to maintain from a knowledge perspective. There's no doubt about that. One of the questions we like to ask, and you've been around this industry for a while. I'm not aging you. You aged yourself. I'm not going there, but I do want to know, in your opinion, what makes a successful truck driver?
We go to before COVID, we were doing about 130 dealer and OEM events a year. So we met tons and tons of truck drivers. And what we have learned, one of the basic things we've learned is it is really a business, and it really needs to be handled as a business. And what I mean by that is when you're, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, but when you're buying something, it's not just the price of it, it's the payments, it's the maintenance, it's the service. And then when you're talking about loads, you got to talk about returns and return trips and things like that. You've really got to have a business mind to be a truck driver nowadays. It's not like it was a while ago. It is very sophisticated.
Oh, for sure. That information, you got to lean on it and you got to understand it. Okay, so your role, Charles, in the truck driver story, how are you helping truck drivers find success?
Our goal with Commercial Truck Trader, and it's with our competitors as well, is to provide the best buying experience. And the way to do that is by providing the most informed amount of information and research that one possibly can. It's interesting that 9 out of every 10 drivers who contact a dealership have already done significant research before they even get there.
Yes.
And maybe in a little while we'll talk about some research, but for us, it's presenting as much data as possible. And it's not just the exploded VIN, but it's also the additional information regarding the category, job, or vocation associated with a particular vehicle. Yeah. Those are all things that really help people move down that buying process. None of us, and I'm part of this too, nobody wants to call a dealership without knowing information firsthand, because you want to feel confident that you've got what you need when you call.
Absolutely. You're kind of talking a little bit about that research. You're talking a little bit about, the online buying experience, the digital being a necessary part of of this whole process, and a lot's changed in the last 2 years here. What changes have you seen in the behavior of the consumer, behavior of the truck driver from a buying perspective, from a truck buying perspective, as things have really changed across the country?
Well, first and foremost, trucks have gotten a lot better. It's really hard to buy a bad truck nowadays.
Yeah.
Whereas, people were so brand loyal at the beginning, up until a few years ago, they're more brand agnostic nowadays. And that makes sense because with nobody making a bad truck, it gives you an opportunity to look for different options. One of the things that has really become important for truck driving now is the availability of service. Not all dealerships and shops are certified to work on all types of engines. This becomes really important when you have the inevitable breakdown. There needs to be programs in place. For example, Aero Truck Sales, and not to give a plug, but simply to give you some context, has a program that enables drivers to receive guidance and expert help finding, qualified repair facilities during that breakdown. Because with trucking, as we talked about a while ago, it is a business and time is money. So it's extraordinarily important to consider service and maintenance as well as price. Price almost becomes secondary to these other important features. Prices right now are going up, and we might talk about this a little later too, but it's more than just the price of the truck. You have to feel comfortable with the service and the maintenance and the warranty programs that are associated with them, because without them, you're going to have a tough time.
Absolutely. As we, have kind of started to transition more into the new digital age of the truck buying experience and what we're seeing out there, what do you think the value of transparency is for, the truck buying process?
Oh my gosh, Ken, it goes back to what we were just talking about a second ago. 9 out of 10 people, get as much research prior to, because in the past, we went to dealerships, all of us, with very little information, and we had to rely on the salesman specifically. And there are often cases, a salesman can't know every industry and can't know every particular business. So you sometimes rely on people that may not have a complete picture, but when you're able to work online and research, and that's with forums, that's on third-party marketplaces, that's on dealer websites, you can collect a lot more information that can help drive your decisions. That's a big change that we've seen. And with transparency comes greater relationships and greater value. I feel a lot more comfortable when somebody says, hey, let me show you, we've got blowback on this engine here, we're going to fix this, or, the rubber on this is going to need to be replaced relatively soon, or, because I feel comfortable that I'm getting the information that I need. In terms of pricing transparency, that's obvious. Everybody knows it's a ceteris paribus, all things being equal. Everybody is on the same playing field, and that has helped a lot as well. I think probably not. I know the most successful dealerships we work with are those that are 100% transparent and will not have a problem telling a buyer, this is not the truck for you. If this is what you're going to be using it for, I don't have that kind of truck, but maybe somebody down the road will. Sure. What that does, it builds that relationship.
Yeah. So, Commercial Truck Trader, a large site with a lot of data. You guys, you guys have, a lot of inventory. Our inventory is on your site.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Hey, no, we love working with y'all. You guys have been great. And, some of the stuff that you've rolled out for dealers specifically has been really great from an information perspective. I think there's additional layers of transparency you guys are trying to provide us, which is always beneficial as well. We value transparency here too. So, but it's for our customers, but we appreciate it when we have it too. But there's a lot of data points that you guys are privy to, and I don't know how much you're allowed to share, but I'm sure demand's been kind of crazy out there. There's been a lot of demand, and what are you seeing out there from a demand perspective, and maybe even some of the top makes and models that you're kind of seeing active out there.
Absolutely. One of the favorite parts of my job, I spend all my time working with dealers, OEM reps, and C-suite at the OEM. So everybody up and down the chain. And what everybody wants is data. And the same thing is true with the buyers, but on the dealer side, it's really important as well. And what's of real interest to me right now is demand. What are buyers searching for? Let me pull something up to give you an example. Here are a couple of data points from buyers viewing specific listings on Commercial Truck Trader, and I'm using this. It could be any third-party site. We're all really big, and we all have a lot of inventory, and I encourage you to go to several sites. Our site has 1.4 million monthly unique visitors coming looking for vehicles, so we get a lot of data, and so does somebody like Truck Paper. Don't get me wrong. So last week, buyers viewed vehicle detail pages. That's when you click from search results to the big picture of a vehicle, and it gives you the information, the vehicle detail page. For Freightliner, 143,000 times.
Wow.
Freightliner. For VDPs for International were 89,000 times. Peterbilt 87,000 times, Kenworth 80,000, Mack 26,000, Volvo 23,000 times. So there's an enormous amount of information we gather when we start to see those types of trends. And then we start to look a little deeper, like what are the categories that they're looking for? Conventional sleeper, obviously. Next is day cab, followed by dump and crane. And here's an interesting one that's really picked up interest for medium and heavy, is the expediter and hot shots. Demand is way up for those. We're seeing a lot of those now, and it's not surprising entirely, but they've moved up significantly in the interest and engagement by buyers.
That's interesting. That is interesting. And we're kind of seeing some, we're seeing some pricing adjustments, as the market has continued to go the way it's going. There's some record levels, I believe, and what are you kind of seeing on the used truck side?
Well, the shortages in materials, particularly things like chips, component parts, and foam of all things, have really driven up the cost of vehicles. And I heard today from an OEM colleague that based on current production levels, heavy-duty OEM models are sold out through 2023 right now. So wow. Really, you are looking for a used truck. And with that in mind, expect to pay about 25% more than you did for the same truck a year ago, because as demand increases and supply shrinks, prices naturally rise. We don't see the used truck prices relaxing back to the place they were till mid 2022. But however, as a buyer, you can't simply wait until then to buy a truck. You've got a business to run. And we talked about that before. Our advice is to buy smart as you can. It's not simply price, it's warranty, the availability of service, and finance terms that meet your needs, which are critical. Price is simply one component of a purchase of a big truck.
Absolutely. No, that's so true. And we're trying to provide people as much as we can here. And I know there's a lot of good people in the industry trying to do the same thing too. Charles, I really appreciate your time. It's been great getting to talk to you. Again, we love Commercial Truck Trader and what y'all are up to. And I really genuinely appreciate you coming on here and talking a little bit to us.
Well, you've been very good to us over the years. And, one of the things I really like about Arrow is you're not afraid to express your when there's a problem. And because you guys are so big, we're like, okay. So, yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I'll try not to be too hard on you guys next time. But thank you so much again, Charles. That is another episode of the Successful Driver Podcast. We appreciate you all listening, watching, wherever you're consuming this. And again, thanks to Charles Bowles from Commercial Truck Trader. That's going to do it for this episode, and we'll catch you later.